Have you ever met someone who works harder than everyone else, yet never seems to move forward? They wake up earlier, stay up later, sweat, sacrifice, and push themselves to the limit, but after years, they are still in the same place. On the other hand, you see someone else who doesn't look like they are working nearly as hard, yet they move from one success to another. Why does this happen? Is life unfair? Or is there something deeper at play? The difference is not luck, not intelligence, and not talent. The difference is in how they think. Because hard work without correct thinking is like driving a car at full speed in the wrong direction. You go faster, but you end up further from where you want to be. Correct thinking is the steering wheel. Hard work is just the engine. Without the steering wheel, the engine will only destroy you faster. Today I want to show you how to think correctly. Not just how to work, but how to think in a way that creates opportunities, attracts the right people, and builds a future that lasts. When people talk about success, the first thing they often mention is hard work. They will tell you how many hours they put in, how much sleep they sacrificed, and how many weekends they spent in the office. And yes, hard work is important. Without effort, no seed can grow into a tree. But here is the truth that many people ignore. Hard work alone is never enough. If you are working hard in the wrong direction, you are simply running faster toward failure. Correct thinking is the compass that ensures all your effort moves you closer to your goal rather than away from it. Imagine two people digging a tunnel. One person chooses a spot without checking the map, without asking where the treasure is buried. He digs for hours, sweats dripping, muscles burning, convinced that effort will eventually bring reward. Another person spends time studying the ground, understanding the landscape, asking questions, and then digs. The second person may dig less, but his effort brings him closer to the treasure. The difference between these two people is not the amount of work, but the quality of their thinking. The world is full of stories where people confuse busyness with progress. You might see someone working 12 hours a day, always moving, always doing something. But when you look closely, you realize they are repeating the same mistakes, chasing the wrong opportunities, or holding on to the wrong beliefs. They think being busy is equal to being productive. But if your thinking is not correct, your busyness is nothing more than motion without meaning. Correct thinking saves you from this trap. It forces you to pause, to question, and to adjust your path before you exhaust yourself. Correct thinking also protects you from copying blindly. Many people believe success comes from imitating others. They see someone open a cafe and make money, and they rush to open a cafe too. They see a business booming and immediately jump into the same business. But the market doesn't reward blind followers. By the time you copy, the situation has already changed. The ones who think correctly don't just copy. They ask, why did this work? What principle made it successful? How can I adapt it to today, to my strengths, to my customers? Thinking correctly means not being trapped by the surface, but looking deeper into the structure of success. Another reason thinking correctly matters more than working hard is that resources are always limited. You have limited time, limited energy, and limited opportunities. If you use them wrongly, you cannot get them back. Imagine driving a car, pressing the accelerator harder. Doesn't matter if you are heading the wrong way, you just end up further from where you want to be. But with correct thinking, you check the map, you understand the roads, and only then you press the accelerator. Hard work becomes powerful when guided by the right direction. Thinking correctly doesn't mean you will never make mistakes. In fact, mistakes are part of the process. But correct thinking changes how you handle those mistakes. Instead of blaming luck, Instead of repeating the same error, you stop and ask, what did this failure teach me? What can I change in my approach? This reflection transforms failure into wisdom and wisdom into better decisions. That is something pure effort can never do. Effort only multiplies results. If your thinking is wrong, effort multiplies failure. If your thinking is right, effort multiplies success. So when people tell you that success is all about working harder than others, don't believe it completely. Hard work is just the engine. Thinking correctly is the steering wheel. Without a steering wheel, the engine may take you fast, but it will take you anywhere, often nowhere. Correct thinking ensures that every ounce of your sweat builds something meaningful, and that is why it will always be more important than effort alone. Failure and rejection are two words that most people try to avoid. From childhood, we are taught that success is the goal, that passing the exam is what matters, that winning the competition is the only reason to play. So naturally, when we grow older and step into the real world, we carry the same mindset. We fear failure as if it is a sign of weakness, and we hate rejection as if it is proof that we are not good enough. But the truth is very different. Failure and rejection are not the enemies of success. They are the teachers of success. If you think about it, every person you admire, every company you respect, and every innovation you enjoy today was built on a mountain of failures. When you fail, the world gives you free feedback. It tells you something about your idea, your method, or your approach that you could not see before. Success often hides weaknesses because when you win, you assume everything you did was right. But when you fail, you are forced to confront reality. You see clearly what doesn't work, and you learn to change. That is why rejection and failure are like mirrors. They reflect the parts of you that need improvement. So you can look into those mirrors without fear. You will find the lessons that no textbook and no mentor can teach. Think about a young entrepreneur who pitches an idea to 10 investors. 9 of them say no. At that moment, he has 2 choices. He can take rejection as a sign that he's not worthy, give up, and disappear. Or he can take rejection as a message. Maybe his idea is good, but not explained well. Maybe his numbers are weak. Maybe his business model has gaps. Each rejection is like a note in the margin of his life, pointing to areas where he must think harder. If he learns from each no, the 10th investor may finally say yes. And that one yes will outweigh all the previous rejections. Failure also builds resilience. Success can make you comfortable, but failure makes you strong. When you fail and you stand up again, you build a kind of muscle that cannot be built in times of comfort. You begin to realize that failure is not fatal. You survive, you adapt, and you grow sharper. This resilience becomes your competitive advantage because most people give up when things don't go their way. If you can learn to walk through rejection without losing your spirit, you become unstoppable. Another hidden gift of failure and rejection is humility. When everything goes smoothly, it is easy to think you are smarter than you are. It is easy to believe that you have everything figured out. Failure reminds you that you are human, that you don't control everything, and that there is still so much to learn. This humility makes you open to feedback, open to collaboration, and open to new perspectives. And often, the best breakthroughs come when you stop thinking you know it all and start listening to others. Failure and rejection also filter your true desires. If you want something but give up the first time you are rejected, then maybe you didn't really want it badly enough. But if you face rejection again and again and you still keep trying, then it proves to yourself and to others that your dream is real. The very act of standing firm in the face of failure shows that your vision is stronger than your fear. Rejection, in this way, is a test of commitment. If you look at history, you will see that behind every great success story is a series of failures that nobody writes about. The inventions we celebrate today were often born from experiments that failed hundreds of times. The careers that look smooth from the outside were often filled with rejections, doubts, and closed doors on the inside. What separates those who succeed from those who quit is not luck, but the ability to treat failure as a lesson and rejection as a stepping stone. Most people think the secret to success lies in having the right answers, but the truth is that success begins with asking the right questions. The questions you ask determine the direction of your thoughts, and the direction of your thoughts shapes the decisions you make. If you ask small questions, you get small answers. If you ask the wrong questions, you waste energy chasing the wrong solutions. But if you learn to ask better questions, your mind will naturally guide you toward better ideas, smarter strategies, and stronger opportunities. Correct thinking starts not with certainty, but with curiosity. Consider the common question many people ask themselves: how can I become rich quickly? At first, it sounds like a practical question, but think about what it does to your mindset. It pushes you to look for shortcuts, schemes, and fast results. It narrows your vision to immediate rewards while ignoring long-term sustainability. And often, it leads to frustration because the answers it produces are fragile and temporary. Now, imagine a different question. What value can I create that people will need for the next 10 years? This question changes everything. It pushes your mind to think about solving real problems, building something meaningful, and focusing on long-term impact. The answers that come from this question are far more powerful because they lead you to sustainable success instead of fragile luck. Asking the right questions also sharpens your ability to see opportunities where others see obstacles. When most people face a challenge, they ask, why is this happening to me? That question locks them into self-pity and helplessness. A better question is, what can I learn from this situation? Or, how can I turn this setback into an advantage? With the right question, the same problem that looks like a wall to others can become a doorway for you. History shows that many innovations were born not from people who had special knowledge, but from people who simply asked questions others ignored. The quality of your questions also determines the quality of your conversations. If you ask shallow questions, you will get shallow answers. If you ask people only about what they do, you will learn very little. But if you ask them why they do it, how they see the future, or what lessons they learn from failure, you will discover insights that most people never hear. Leaders and innovators are often those who ask questions that dig beneath the surface, questions that challenge assumptions and open new perspectives. By asking the right questions, you not only think correctly yourself, but also inspire others to think more deeply. Asking good questions requires humility. Many people don't ask because they fear looking ignorant. They pretend to know, and as a result, they stay blind. But the ones who admit, I don't know, let me ask, are the ones who keep growing. Every question you ask is a bridge to knowledge you don't yet have. The more bridges you build, the further you can go. Correct thinking is not about pretending to always know the answer. It is about having the courage to ask until you find the answer. The power of asking the right questions is also visible in teamwork. A leader who asks, what should my team do to make me successful, creates a culture of hierarchy and dependency. But a leader who asks, what can I do to make my team successful, shifts the focus to service, empowerment, and shared vision. The difference between these two questions can decide whether a team falls apart or rises together. Similarly, in personal life, asking questions like, how can I get more, often leads to stress and greed, while asking, how can I give more, opens doors to relationships, trust, and long-term fulfillment. Correct thinking begins when you realize that your mind will always find answers to the questions you feed it. If you ask limited questions, you get limited answers. If you ask destructive questions, you get destructive answers. But if you learn to ask questions that are bold, meaningful, and forward-looking, your mind will rise to meet them. The answers you discover may not come immediately, but they will guide you toward paths that others cannot see. That is why learning to ask the right questions is the first step toward learning how to think correctly. Most people believe that success depends on having the answers. But the deeper truth is that success begins with asking the right questions. The direction of your life is shaped not by what you know, but by what you choose to seek. A poor question limits your imagination, while a powerful question expands your vision and forces your mind to explore new territory. The way you think is determined by the quality of the questions you feed your brain. If you ask shallow questions, you get shallow answers. If you ask the wrong questions, you waste time chasing the wrong solutions. But if you ask thoughtful, challenging questions, you unlock insights that others overlook, and this is the foundation of correct thinking. Think about how most people frame their desires. Many ask themselves, how can I become rich quickly? At first, it sounds like a reasonable question, but look at how it shapes the answers. It points you towards shortcuts, risky decisions, or temporary solutions that may bring quick results but lack lasting value. The better question is, what value can I create that people will continue to need for the next 10 years? That single shift changes the entire mindset. Instead of chasing speed, you focus on sustainability. Instead of thinking about what you can take, you think about what you can give. The right question becomes a compass that points your energy in a direction where your effort will matter, not just for today, but for the future. The difference between asking, why is this happening to me, and what can I learn from this, is the difference between being stuck and moving forward. The first question traps you in self-pity, while the second question pushes you to grow. When life throws challenges your way, asking better questions allows you to see opportunities where others only see obstacles. Many great innovations were born not because someone had more knowledge, but because they dared to ask a question others ignored. They asked why not when everyone else said that's impossible. The ability to ask the right questions also determines the depth of your relationships. If you only ask people, what do, you learn almost nothing. But if you ask them, why do you do it? What drives you? What lessons have you learned from your failures? Suddenly you are opening a doorway into real understanding. People reveal truths when they are asked questions that go beyond the surface. Great leaders, thinkers, and innovators don't pretend to know everything. Instead, they know how to ask questions that draw out insights from others. Asking good questions requires humility. Many people avoid asking because they fear looking foolish. They act as if knowing everything is a sign of intelligence, when in reality, pretending to know closes the door to growth. The courage to ask is what separates those who keep learning from those who stop progressing. Every time you ask a meaningful question, you build a bridge to knowledge you didn't have before. And the more bridges you build, the further you can go. Correct thinking is not about having a mind full of answers. It is about having a mind that never stops asking. A person who always asks, how can I get more, lives a life of constant dissatisfaction. A person who asks, how can I give more, builds a life of contribution, respect, and influence. The quality of your future is written in the quality of the questions you ask yourself today. If you ask questions that are small, fearful, or short-sighted, your life will shrink to fit those boundaries. But if you ask bold questions about value, purpose, and long-term impact, your life will expand in ways you cannot yet imagine. Most people prefer to be surrounded by those who agree with them It feels good when people nod, smile, and tell you that you are right. Agreement gives comfort, but comfort rarely brings growth. If everyone around you thinks the same way as you, then your circle becomes an echo chamber. You hear your own thoughts repeated back to you, but you never discover new possibilities. Correct thinking is not built in comfort zones. It is built in the presence of challenge. When you surround yourself with people who question your ideas, who look at the world differently, and who dare to disagree with you, you sharpen your mind and expand your vision. Imagine running a business where your team always tells you your plan is perfect. At first, it feels encouraging, but in reality, it is dangerous. They are not pointing out the risks, the blind spots, or the flaws that could destroy your plan later. Now, imagine a team that challenges you. One person says, this might not work because the market is shifting. Another says, the cost here seems underestimated. And another asks, have you thought about what happens if customers reject this feature? At that moment, it may feel uncomfortable. You may even feel defensive. But those challenges force you to think harder, refine your ideas, and prepare for realities you might have ignored. That uncomfortable process is exactly what protects you from failure. Different perspectives are like windows into different parts of the same landscape. You may be looking east and seeing sunrise, convinced that the world is full of light, while someone else is looking west and noticing the darkness of night. If you only trust your own view, you think you know the whole truth. But when you listen to someone with a different perspective, you realize that the world is larger than your view. Surrounding yourself with people who challenge your ideas is like adding windows to your house. You get a fuller picture of reality, and that picture helps you make wiser decisions. Of course, surrounding yourself with challengers requires strength. Many people avoid disagreement because they take it personally. They mistake a challenge to their idea as a rejection of their worth. But in reality, when someone challenges you sincerely, they are giving you a gift. They are investing their energy to help you see more clearly. The strongest leaders are not those who silence a disagreement, but those who welcome it. They understand that correct thinking is not about being right all the time, but about creating an environment where the best ideas rise to the top, no matter whose ideas they are. Challengers also train you to defend your beliefs with reason rather than ego. When someone questions you, you must explain why you think the way you do. If your reasoning is weak, the challenge will expose it and you will learn to strengthen it. If your reasoning is solid, the challenge will confirm it and make even clearer. Either way, you grow. This process builds confidence, not arrogance, because your ideas are not based on blind belief, but on tested understanding. It is also important to recognize that surrounding yourself with people who challenge you doesn't mean surrounding yourself with negative people. There is a difference between someone who criticizes everything out of bitterness and someone who questions you because they see a better possibility. The former drains your energy, but the latter sharpens your vision. The right challengers are those who want to see you succeed and are willing to push you beyond your limits to get there. When you only listen to agreement, you build walls around your thinking. When you invite disagreement, you build bridges to deeper wisdom. The greatest growth often happens in conversations where ideas clash and eventually combine into something stronger than either side could have created alone. Correct thinking thrives in diversity of thought, and that diversity only enters your life when you surround yourself with people who are brave enough to challenge you and when you are wise enough to listen. Most people make decisions based on what they can get today. They chase quick wins, fast money, and instant recognition, believing that success is about speed. But real success is never built overnight. It is the product of vision stretched over years, sometimes decades. Correct thinking means training your mind to see beyond the short-term gains and focusing instead on the long-term picture. Those who think only about today may look like they are winning for a moment, but those who think about tomorrow will always outlast them. Imagine two farmers. One plants crops that grow fast and give him food immediately. The other plants a tree that takes years to grow, but once it matures, produces fruit for generations. The first farmer enjoys quick results, but struggles every season to start again from zero. The second farmer sacrifices in the short term, waiting patiently, but in the long run, he enjoys abundance without starting over. This is the difference between short-term thinking and long-term vision. Quick results fade, but long-term vision builds legacies. Short-term thinking often traps people in cycles of dissatisfaction. You buy something to feel happy now, but the happiness disappears quickly. You chase a job only for the salary, but after some time you feel empty because there is no purpose behind the work. You build a business only to make fast profits, but without a solid foundation, it collapses when challenges come. On the other hand, long-term vision gives meaning to effort. Even when progress is slow, you remain motivated because you see the bigger picture. The effort feels worthwhile when it connects to something that lasts. Having a long-term vision does not mean ignoring the present. It means using the present as a building block for the future. When you face difficulties, short-term thinkers asked, how do I escape this pain quickly? Long-term thinkers ask, how do I use this challenge to prepare for tomorrow? The same situation that makes one person quit becomes the reason another person grows. A long-term vision transforms obstacles into investments in your future. One of the greatest advantages of long-term vision is trust. People quickly learn whether you are driven by immediate gain or by lasting purpose. If they sense you only care about today's profit, they may do business with you once, but they will not return. If they see you are building something for the future, they will trust you, support you, and stay loyal. Trust cannot be built in a day, but it becomes one of the most valuable rewards of long-term thinking. Patience is another critical element. In a world that celebrates speed, patience feels like weakness, but in truth, it is a superpower. Patience allows you to endure seasons of slow growth without giving up. It teaches you to improve steadily instead of rushing into shortcuts. Patience combined with vision creates unstoppable momentum. Every great achievement looks sudden to outsiders, but behind it are years of invisible work, years of persistence guided by a long-term goal. When you think long-term, you also begin to measure success differently. You stop asking, how much did I gain this week? And start asking, how much progress have I made toward my vision this year? You stop worrying about temporary losses because you know they are part of a longer journey. You stop comparing yourself to others who seem ahead now because you understand that the race is not measured in days but in decades. Short-term gains can make you feel smart today, but long-term vision makes you wise tomorrow. The world rewards those who build with patience, resilience, and foresight. If you can train yourself to think not just about the next 10 days, but about the next 10 years, your decisions will be stronger, your relationships deeper, and your impact greater. The future belongs not to those who move fastest, but to those who can see furthest.